Dumelang re la amogela mo go Daily Thetha on SABC 1. Nna ka lebitso ke nna Nicolette wa Gamashile ngwana wa kwa Bushback Rich Mapulaneng. Yena re tsoleng lona leme la matsogo ke sesi Andiswa wa ga Kebashe. Le gone mo ga Daily Thetha re bolela ka taba di facts and myths of 5G technology. Na ra di kwa tabeng go bolela ka yona 5G, but re tsone re butse rena ke eng ke selo max nyo go re thusha ka eng mo South Africa. Re o sa tshebe 5G e emela 5th generation. Now of course this is mobile internet technology. E ka khona gore thusha re kene mo re nyo kena gona re khone go iberekisa to connect with the world using of course our internet on our phones. Now it comes off the heels of 4G LTE standard technology. But so batho ba butsansana go gore na what is the impact of 5G on our health, knowing gore e ka khona gore thusha go berekisa internet but also putting down those data prices.
Ngithi nami ngibingelele kumbukeli ohlele ekhaya igama eledwa kami yokucwanini usibe uzizi ke uyazi ke ngangibiza ngoSheriff ngempela ke yikho isizathu namhlanje sesihlala phansi sibuka ngempela ukuthi what is 5G technology njoba sizwa sifunda ukusho ukuthi ke it has the potential of expanding the speed and the strength of our internet connectivity, which you all know ukuthi we now live in a very IT based world and technology is a big part of it, but also besibuka when it comes to the world of agriculture, allowing people in the space of farmings to use different machinery that adapts and strengthens their use, but also into the mining space. Even udokotela akwazi ukuthi noma ehlele ekhaya akwazi ukuthi operate, which is something that is beyond this world nendlela sibona ngakhona. Kodwa ayipheleli lapho. In all the good that we hear about the 5G technology, we then today get to explore ukuthi ngempela with all the good there is some bad, as it says to have toxic microwaves that is released that could harm our environment and also our health. Today we get to sit and have this conversation. Stella wena ohlele ekhaya who wants to be a part of our conversation to please utilize our social media handles, which is at Daily Thetha on Instagram, Twitter and Facebook. Alternatively, go to WhatsApp yakho on 072-316-1329.
Well, it is very interesting because this conversation about 5G reminds me of when things came into being, you know, things like the microwave. This electromagnetic radiation that comes through from these different appliances might be able to harm our health. But never really got to the part where they understand what is then that health implication. And that's what we are looking at.
And even if that, just keep in mind also, some people don't even know what's 4G. And that's what we get to understand today.
Yeah. But let's go and see a story that was done in 2019 by the SABC News with journalist Sherwin Bryce Peace, who covered the story of how the mobile giant Huawei is going to be launching 5G in South Africa in 2019. Let's see.
It's a generation of technology poised to revolutionize the way societies function. A 5th generation of wireless technology that will empower a vast array of transformative new applications and how we operate them.
Essentially, this is about who will lead innovation for the next generation of internet and telecommunications technology. You'll remember 1G allowed us to make wireless telephone calls, followed by 2G that allowed us to make SMS or text messages, revolutionizing the way we communicate with each other. 3G allowed us to better surf the internet, followed by 4G that introduced high-quality video streaming. Of course, 5G is now the next generation, the next step that will make everything that much faster. It will optimize machine-to-machine communication, from smart cars to smart washing machines to smart cities. The possibilities and options are endless, and the big players are only too well aware of that.
While telemedicine or critical infrastructure like water supply and electricity distribution could also use 5G as its backbone. The United States has also warned that intelligence sharing with countries that use Chinese companies like Huawei and ZTE for 5G infrastructure would have to be reevaluated, despite vociferous denials from these tech companies that their technology could not be manipulated for nefarious purposes like espionage.
And for example, these vendors of hardware and software technology could cause data to be exfiltrated for purposes that are not authorized by the users, so that could cause the compromise of citizens' privacy. The exfiltration data could also cause intellectual property that belongs to businesses and corporations.
We raised President Ramaphosa's concerns with him, particularly what the president referred to as US victimization of Huawei, and the negative impact that would have on telecoms in national jurisdictions.
We certainly appreciate the South African president's ability to make decisions that are in the best interest of all South Africans. We in the United States are only going to be using 3 trusted vendors, which are Ericsson, Nokia, and Samsung.
As the world of the future beckons with its interconnectivity anchored in 5G, countries will have to decide whom to partner with and whether the benefits outweigh the risks. Sherwin Brycepease, SABC News, New York.
Now uyazibonela ukuthi the endless opportunities that lie with 5G create an opportunity for us to develop as Africa, because technology is expanding, meaning quicker things and information, but also it leaves a lot to understand, which is how great can we be in the use of 5G. But for now, sibuze wena njengoba uhleli ekhaya as umbukeli ukuthi, what do you think about the implementation of 5G, and does it make sense to you? Have a look what you had to say.
Hi, I'm Shivana Naidu and I'm from Durban, South Africa, and these are my thoughts on 5G. So, with every technological age we have faced as humankind, it's always been met with a high level of skepticism, mostly unfounded, fear, and a lot of foil hat wearing shenanigans. We had this kind of thing happen when we first got cell phones here, where people said that this would fry our brains, and yet here we are sleeping with them under our pillows and so forth. We still have them.
I don't know much about 5G. What I do know is that as soon as the topic comes up, or that word 5G, there's a horde of conspiracy theorists that flood to go say their say, have their opinion delivered, be it 5 cents, be it 2 cents. Everybody got something to say about 5G. You hear things like it's been affiliated with the coronavirus. You hear things that it gives off a microwave energy, radiation, it's making us sick. There's some things like 5G is gonna, they'll be able to control your phones. The government will be watching us with it. There's so many things when it comes to 5G. So I stay away from it. Not the 5G, the topic.
It reveals that we are misinformed and our information or information in general is not readily available to the layman, which is why people can jump at the sensationalized myths such as 5G causes the coronavirus, or 5G is some government ploy for the new world.
I'll stay away from it, from the topic of 5G, because of course there is good things we've heard about it, but also there's myths. Like it has been, of course, the moment we saw COVID-19 come to life, it was very much linked to the 5G new life that it came to.
And it can affect my 12 hours. So for me, that is quite scary because I don't want my lungs being touched.
But in Demnandi, where we sit down with experts from the industry of South Africa who are able to teach us, but all of this we're from the break.
Right here on SABC 1. Kiona Daily Thetha and Lekgono re bolela ka the myths and facts of yona 5G technology. But right now I want to ask gore na ke eng yona 5G technology and then e berekiswa byang. We're going to be speaking to Professor Tshilidzi Marwala, who is the Vice Chancellor of the University of Johannesburg, and for 25 years he's been doing research in artificial intelligence, and of course he's got a PhD and he's a renowned expert in that field. Now we've heard gore yona 5G, it's coming, and for most of us who are living in South Africa, Lesotho and Nigeria, it is here because it has been implemented, and these are some of the first countries where it has actually been rolled out and tests are being done. Now, of course, private sector, government have China had these partnerships where they're trying to roll out yona 5G and understand we want to go now to Lesotho and go and see an SABC insert where they talk to us about the rollout of 5G in Lesotho. Let's go and see how that went down.
It's exciting times for a small, tiny mountain kingdom as Lesotho switches on the 5th generation network. What Basotho will use it for, the possibilities are endless.
Being the first is one challenge also, because that means now we are dependent on other countries which are going to manufacture, especially the devices that, because our ordinary devices are still on LTE, and for you and me, we can't use it that much except these people who are connected now in offices.
But to many Basotho who rely on the internet for business, this is an opportunity to be innovative and broaden their horizons. After all, internet speed is everything.
It is critical. Usually, previously, you find the speeds were not quite sufficient, so you'll either take a long time to deliver feedback to your clients, or have to come back to the office and then plug in. But now we're going to see an era where we're going to be able to increase our productivity, but more importantly also render more services because of the increased speed of internet. So that's quite exciting.
The internet is very important because I'm able to watch television using my phone. I don't have to be at home anymore. So if you can realize things have changed. It's no more that those days whereby you in class, the lecturer is standing in front of me and teaching me. So this time it's more about technology.
And the service providers are equally upbeat about this technology.
We are the first in Africa to go live with a live 5G implementation, and obviously this means that there's a lot that's coming our way. So we're also still in the early stages, trying to find our way around, trying to make sure how do we push it.
Can you imagine a professor in Harvard educating students at NUL? That's going to change the way that we do things and open up a host of opportunities for this economy and for the youngsters that are coming behind us.
Couldn't be said in better terms. We are in an innovative years where everything will probably change for your experience. Rapelang Khatebe, SABC News, Maseru Lesotho.
In an age where we really are dependent on technology and the speed of the internet, you're just watching that insert, you get excited because you're like, if it's here, it's going to help us, because we already are struggling with data prices in South Africa. We're struggling with internet connectivity. We're struggling with the speed of internet. So it's quite exciting to hear about this rollout. Yeah, you're on a 5G melody.
And to keep in mind, of course, research has shown that with 5G being implemented, we see a possibility of 25% drop in terms of data prices, which will be something very strong for our economy.
But it's quite exciting for me, we need to also get an understanding on 5G, because every day, yeah, my phone has got 5G connectivity, or it's enabled for 5G, but what is it? And that's why we've got Professor Thelidi Marala, who is the Vice Chancellor at the University of Johannesburg and also an artificial intelligence expert doing research for years in this space, who's going to be able to 5G. Professor, welcome to Daily Thetha.
Thank you very much for the invitation.
Yeah.
And thank you very much to your viewers.
Yeah.
So now, what is this thing called 5G?
Professor, just before you explain to us, because we are quite excited and anticipating for your explanation on what 5G is, perhaps maybe we can start with contextualizing and speak about the previous 4 generations and how they have helped our country in terms of internet connectivity and communication.
So 5G stands for fifth generation. So the first generation telecommunication network that happened in the late 70s and the 80s, a technology where you could be able to speak with another person using voice on a cellular phone. So a simple example is what you would call a walkie-talkie. But the problem with that technology is that it was not a digital technology, it was an analog technology. Digital technology is a technology that communicates by using ones and zeros. So whatever I say is ultimately coded into ones and zeros, and when a receiver, when it arrives at the receiver, it is decoded and it becomes the original voice. Then came this 2G. 2G was voice plus text. That was the birth of SMS. Now you could be able to send text and also be able to using voice. And that was a digital technology. Then came 3G. 3G included internet on top of the voice and text.
Okay.
So all of a sudden, you could be able to communicate, you could be able to browse the internet. If you remember, those brick cellular phones of the 90s couldn't send an SMS.
Yes.
Then 4G or LTE was a faster version of 3G.
Okay.
Very fast. You could download videos, for example. But in 4G, to download a movie, for example, will take hours. Now in 5G, it's even a faster technology, where a movie that would normally take 6 hours to download, you will be able to do it in 6 seconds. So it is very, very fast. The other characteristics about 5G is that it requires many, many transmitters. So instead of having one cellular mast in a region, you are going to have cellular masts around our houses, in our electricity poles.
Professor, while you're speaking about those cellular masts, do we have the infrastructure in South Africa and also broader Africa?
Well, that is the big question. You know, certainly in urban areas we do.
Okay.
If you come to Johannesburg, you know, we have street lights. Certainly we have poles. Sometimes the street lights will not work. So we will be able to put cellular masts.
Yeah.
The problem will be in villages, like in the Limpopo province where I come from.
Yeah.
Where are we going to put these masts? Is there a market for them? Because obviously the technology requires a certain level of density of usage for you to deploy, because you're not going to deploy it in a place where the usage is not very high because people don't have enough money. Now, the other thing, which is really the characteristics of every technology becomes relatively cheaper if you factor into account inflation. So 5G is going to be relatively cheaper than 4G.
Okay. Just to put into context also, Bruce, I mean, everyone is fighting this. We've seen between the USA and China, they have been competing to see who will be able to then have political dominance. I mean, maybe give us understanding of why is there such a fight over 5G itself?
It turns out that the Chinese have developed much of this technology. So if you look at the patents that are available, patents is basically a right that is given to an inventor to exploit their invention for a period of 17 years. So for 17 years, no one will be able to exploit technology without having some arrangement with the inventor. You will realize that much of this technology is owned by China. Now, United States is the preeminent technological powerhouse in the world. And of course, they are not entirely pleased about that. And as a result, you probably would have heard that when the British people, the British Prime Minister Johnson, made some contractual arrangement with Huawei, that the American government was not happy with it. So you have sort of a Cold War on who is going to dominate this 5G. Because whoever dominates this 5G will probably have an advantage when we move on to 6G.
Professor, just a quick one. With the digital divide that we've got most South Africa, there are still areas that don't get 3G. How are we going to make sure that we don't, exacerbate the situation with the rollout of 5G if we don't have the infrastructure?
You see, South Africa has many good laws.
Yeah.
we knew maybe in the 90s that companies are going to be reluctant to invest in rural areas because of commercial considerations as compared to investing in urban areas. And what we did was to establish a company, and that company is called USASA, the Universal Service Agency of South Africa. This company would collect, I think, 5% of the revenues of telephone companies, and their role was to invest where the telecommunication companies are not, and they were financed by that. But unfortunately, that has not worked. So what we need to do is to make these systems work.
Professor,
Melody?
I would like to take this opportunity to say thank you so much for taking time to speak to us. We know you're a very busy man in these times of COVID-19, but also we want to say thank you for your research and we wish you all the best going forward, Professor.
Thank you very much.
We appreciate it. And of course, there you have it. Prof. Marwala explaining his understanding and explaining the basic of 4G, but also not just that, when we come back, we get to expand about their benefits and how that 5G technology can improve the lives and educations of people of Africa. Kodwa konke lokhu when we come back. Welcome back to Daily Thetha SABC 1. Yet another beautiful opportunity for you as the viewer to get to interact with us. Please do not forget, we do invite you to comment or send a message to WhatsApp on our WhatsApp line, which is 072-316-1329. But also in this part of our conversation, says Kulma about how things are still happening in the world of 5G and understanding its purpose for the future, like South Africa. We're going to be speaking to Dr. Albert Lysko, who is from CSIR, who is an engineer, a researcher, and an innovator who has great interest when it comes to the world of wireless communications. But before we go to him, we look at how the possibilities lie in South Africa, that you can be able to go to Shelly in KZN and be able to have a job in London, but also being able to be in a meeting with someone in Cape Town and all remotely without even having uthi uphume endlini. And that's the beauty of what we hear about 5G. But for now, we get to sit down with the UCT lecturer and researcher, which is Dr. Joyce Mwangalma, who gets to educate us about the research that has been done at UCT, as UCT has been at the forefront of research in South Africa, as they have what we call a 5G testbed that they're busy working on. Let's have a look at the conversation we had with the good doctor.
At the University of Cape Town, we are working in 5G research and testing. We are developing a 5G testbed that can be used to prototype and test different network services using technologies such as cloud computing and distributed analytics. We want to leverage the use of 5G technologies to prototype applications such as those used in the Internet of Things, digital health, and others. We do this because we believe South Africa and Africa as a whole stand to benefit greatly from the development and deployment of 5G technology. We also encourage that this development is inclusive of all citizens and leaves no one behind. This can be done through the engagement of different perspectives to identify relevant and inclusive digital solutions.
And that's the knowledge that is being imparted, and also looking forward to more knowledge being imparted further when it comes to the work that and research that has been done at UCT. But also further to bring it a bit home, I want to understand from our guest, which is Dr. Albert Lysko, who gets to show us the improvement and the relationship between, we think of the fourth industrial revolution, but also 5G. How do they work together? Because 5G will then enable us to do more. Dr. Lysko, welcome to Daily Thetha on SABC 1.
Good morning, Melody. Good morning, everyone.
Doctor, just to get into it, I want to understand the relationship that is now embedded between the fourth industrial revolution and 5G, because it seems that 5G is bringing a lot of heat that allows us to expand and do more.
All right. I think it's a wonderful topic. let me maybe break your question down into components. I'll start with 5G. So 5G is a wonderful technology which promises to speed things up by an order of magnitude. 10 times faster than the previous fourth generation of mobile telecommunications. And I should also mention that 5G is an access network function, and it's a part of overall system of telecommunication networks. I'll come back to it later. So 5G offers very good speeds for media-rich applications, high-definition video, 4K, 8K, for augmented reality, virtual reality. It also, very importantly to note, offers ultra-reliable, low-latency communications, very important for factory automation, for enabling driverless cars, robot-enabled remote surgery, and other things which haven't been seen in on the ground as yet. And in addition to that, it also goes into supporting the Internet of Things, where millions of sensors would feed data about what's happening in the world to analytic systems and permit to run things more efficiently.
Dr. Albert,
of course,
Dr. Albert, sorry to interject right there. I mean, we have a South Africa that is really sometimes afraid of the technology because they don't understand it. Some of our parents don't even use internet banking because they think someone's going to steal their money. Can you perhaps maybe bring it even further down for us as to the uses of 5G? I'm just thinking about, you know, at the top of my mind, gaming. People use virtual reality in gaming. How do we bring virtual reality to the normal, everyday person on the street using this new fast internet?
Okay. 5G helps to reduce the latency, that is a delay between your handset and the base station, down to 1 millisecond, which means if you are in gaming, your actions will be translated into actions in the game much faster.
Yes.
Giving you an advantage. But of course, there is gaming. I'm not sure how many people do gaming in South Africa.
So what I'd like to know is, outside of gaming, what can it do? Do we now no longer have to attend church services? Will we get church services done with 5G?
I believe it's possible to charge services done with 5G, but of course, preferably to do it only during the lockdown.
Yeah.
Otherwise, going to the church is always the best choice. Maybe I would bring it through the fourth industrial revolution, as you started the initial question, and bring it to the point which you are interested in. So the fourth industrial revolution is, in essence, a transformation of the way we live. It is time in which we live. And it's called fourth revolution because of very fast, extraordinary technological advances. And there are three components important for fourth industrial revolution. Telecom networks, and that's where 5G plays a significant role. Second component is globalization. That is, we are connected to the world and world is connected to us. And the third one is automation and artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
What type of impact it will bring is that more focus will go into knowledge economy and services going online. So whether people want it or not, it will be the most efficient economically and time-wise to start using the cell phones, using internet banking and other services. Because as long as you do it right, that is, you don't show your credentials and password to anybody else, it is reasonably safe to do. On the front of how else fourth industrial revolution will change the jobs of people on the ground. As more services becoming online and virtual, there would be a greater need for software developers, programmers, people who know networking, artificial intelligence, how to do analytics. Because say in 10, 15 years from now, I would find it very difficult to see a single person not doing half of the functions the person does today online. For example, the fridge can talk to the shop and order the food. Somebody in the village, if I take a rural village of South Africa as an example, should be able to order food or other services through the phone. And it will also create additional job opportunities because somebody will need to bring that food or groceries or something else to the home.
Dr. Lasko, you know what, thank you so much for taking time to be able to be with us this morning, but also just to impart that knowledge. Unfortunately, due to time, we just have to say thank you and we appreciate your work, and please continue contributing to this ever-growing generation of 4IR, but also 5G. Now, with that being said, I mean, there's so many pointers. Dining room, fridge, you understand? That thought is crazy, but the question you need to ask yourself, best way we might answer you is it dangerous to our society? All of this after the break. Welcome back to Daily Thetha. Siyajabula ukuthi usahleli nathi la ku SABC 1 as we continue the conversation talking about 5G and what role does it play in our society and in the future of South Africa and Africa as a whole. We've seen various stories come out on social media with various people, the likes of Kerry Hilson, who came out to say that things like 5G are the cause of coronavirus, but also we've seen how people have said that it does impact the environment negatively. But more specifically, like we saw a gentleman by the name of Stephen Birch who went on to make assumptions and statements that has led him to being arrested after he made them socially. But not just that, we do want to say, these views do not represent the SABC, or do they represent Daily Thetha? Have a look what he had to say.
Good morning, South Africans, and good morning, Mr. Julius Malema. Mr. Malema, you don't know me. My name is Stephen Birch. And while you are currently under lockdown, Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa, your opponent, is rolling out a 5G network system. Besides the fact that the 5G network system will kill millions of South Africans with radiation, the system will control your move, Mr. Malema, through facial recognition. It will control every South African's move. You'll be able to walk into the street without your cell phone. A facial recognition camera will pick up your face and you will say the following words, Uber. And within 3 minutes, an Uber will arrive. You will get into the vehicle. You will have been microchipped. And the reason you will have been microchipped is because of the COVID-19 virus. They will use it as an excuse to inoculate every single person with a vaccine.
And those are the sentiments of Mr. Stephen Birch. And of course, as a reminder, these are not our views. And as the SABC and Daily Thetha, we do not promote them. But we want to contextualize his sentiments because it left a lot of people scared, confused, and others angry for respectable reasons. And that's why we found it fitting to bring in Mr. Van Wyk, who gets to speak to us as he is the Group Director and Managing Director at Alpha Mobile Network Services and Products. But also, he is an electromagnetic safety specialist who gets to just give us perspective on his views. Mr. Van Wyk, welcome to Daily Thetha right here on SABC 1. Thank you for giving us your time.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Van Wyk, perhaps maybe we can start the conversation here. We've seen various areas in London where 5G towers and cellular masts are being burnt down. What is this all about? Can we get an understanding? And there's been a correlation of 5G and COVID-19. Perhaps maybe you can help us in analyzing that entire, it's quite a bizarre thing that's happening.
Yes. So I normally look at the leading international bodies for their comments. So it's not my personal views that's the most important. So if you look, for example, at the statements from the World Health Organization, they have a statement out to say that there's absolutely no link between 5G, the rollout of 5G, and the current COVID-19 crisis. There is, however, a lot of rumors and WhatsApps and videos and spreading such rumors, but these rumors are deemed not to be accurate at all by the leading bodies across the world.
But how did we even get to the rumors? I think for me that's the most interesting part. How did one person make a connection between COVID-19 and an internet mobile network?
Yes, I'm not sure. There's no scientific foundation for that argument at all. So as you know, the COVID-19 virus is a virus that spread from human to human, or originate in China, as we all know. And 5G is a technology that uses radio waves for communications. And there's absolutely no sound theory or scientific argument as to why the two would be linked to each other at all.
Maybe Mr. Van Wyk can make me understand, how do we explain in the most simplest way what are electromagnetic waves?
Okay, so maybe I can just take it back, whether it's 2G, 3G, or 4G or 5G, the different generations of mobile technologies. All of them have a base station system somewhere in the network. So inside a shopping center, you would see antennas installed inside the roof, or if you drive around or travel around, you'll see the mast everywhere dotted across the country. And it's not only in South Africa, it's the same essentially all across the world. That base station connects to your mobile device, so to your handset or to your router that you use for internet at home or whatever it is. And those two devices communicate in both directions for your data or for your voice connection when you use your mobile device. And that the signal is transmitted via the electromagnetic spectrum, just as television signals are transmitted from the television mast in the area, or FM radio is transmitted from the radio broadcast site, wherever that is located for you.
Do you then believe that the average South African will be able then to separate the two when it comes to fake news based on like school level knowledge or even university knowledge? Because I think there's a big problem where people can't be able to separate the source itself with knowing the difference between the two, fake and the real truth.
Yes, I think that's a big problem. If you don't understand both sides of the technical aspects of it, it's very difficult to know whether something that you read is accurate and reliable or not. And when you receive it from a friend or from someone that seems to be a reliable source or someone with some social standing, then it's very difficult for you to know whether to trust or not trust that argument at all. So it is very difficult for the public to understand these things that spread.
Marnus, perhaps maybe simplify it for all of us. Which one is the dangerous electromagnetic and which one is not? How does one differentiate between the two?
Okay, so all across the world there are guidelines for that people of the level that people may be exposed to electromagnetic signals, and we use a guideline that's similar all across the world, or that's used across the majority of the world, that specifies that limit that you may be exposed to.
Okay.
And whether you use your handset or whether it applies to a base station, those systems must be installed and must comply with those relevant guidelines. And those guidelines are set and determined to protect us against any negative health effects. So the bodies across the world that specialize in this field, they look at all the latest research, and then they specify a limit and say, as long as these technologies, whether it's 2G, 3G, 4G, or 5G, complies with that limit, we think that will protect you against any negative health effects that could arise. So all these technologies, whether it's whichever number it is, whichever generation it is, as long as they comply with those guidelines, then the leading bodies in the world say that's sufficient to protect us against negative health effects. And that's true for your handset, for your phone itself, and it's also true for the base stations.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Van Beek. We really appreciate your time and being able to just simplify that for us, because at the end of the day, that's really important. I think education is really important. And I think, Melody, for me, what he really, really made it very clear is that at the end of the day, there is a regulation stipulating how much of these electromagnetic waves can be in a certain device, and then already we are protected. So I think maybe Rachaba, but we are justified in Okochaba, but we must also trust that there is some sort of regulation that does protect us.
And that's why I'm looking forward to the next part of this conversation, because we get to look at the future of 5G in Africa and, of course, the endless possibilities. Konke lokhu besibuya. Job, I guess let's figure almost to the end of our show today. We've seen the changes, we've seen the different aspects of when you speak about the 5G and the possibilities that live with it. Kodwa sithole ithuba ukuthi sihlale phansi not Dr. BC Molina, who is a biomedical postdoctoral researcher at the University of Cape Town, who gets to expand a bit more about the medical advancements that come with 4IR and also the possibilities of unity with 5G. Let's have a look at what she had to say.
Africa is currently struggling to provide essential services to its citizens. The result is poor health and livelihoods, high prevalence of HIV, AIDS, TB, and malaria, even though treatment is available, and challenges in the supply and use of energy. The 5G network architecture presents business opportunities in addressing these challenges in a smart way. 5G connected healthcare systems can help improve healthcare service delivery. This has been demonstrated in managing the ongoing global health crisis. Over the years, medical doctors have turned to communication technologies to provide healthcare to patients remotely, but telemedicine has failed to take off due to limited penetration of communication networks, and where service is available, the networks are slow and often unreliable. 5G can therefore drive healthcare provision to all, including those in rural areas. The deployment of 5G in conjunction with artificial intelligence, machine learning, and IoT technologies can lead to improved delivery of healthcare services through augmented reality-based remote surgery, provision of virtual clinical services, ability to exchange large data and image files, and in-service training for healthcare workers.
Dr. BC Molina, the medical advancements that are based on the 5G research, and also just remembering it reiterates indirectly, the sentiment that has been put out by the WHO, COVID-19 aina linkage 5G. That for me is something that we really can find comfort in, Melody. But also last year at the South African Digital Summit, President Cyril Ramaphosa, the digital era could potentially generate 5 trillion rand in the next 10 years for our economy. That is something that we can definitely look forward to. Let's go and hear what he had to say.
The digital revolution is an opportunity to build an entrepreneurial state where government's own appetite for risk and innovation inspires large-scale entrepreneurship, where the small, medium enterprises that Minister Nchabeni leads will be able to find fertile ground to succeed, where we also unlock economic potential. Many global companies doing well now, such as Google, enjoyed robust, as I was saying, state funding at various points in their lives. Therefore, an entrepreneurial state should not only provide funding, but should also have capacity to determine the strategic direction of entrepreneurship. An entrepreneurial state that I would like us to be should have strong venture capital as one of its elements. With our eyes on the future, we welcome the recent forecast by Accenture. Minister referred to it earlier. By Accenture, that digital technologies can generate, and they say, and they're dreaming maybe, they say 5 trillion rand in value for South African industry and society in the next decade. So 5 trillion rand is waiting out there for us to go and grab. So says Accenture, and we are coming for it.
And we agree with you, President. We're definitely coming for it. 5 trillion rand that the digital era could potentially give us, but all we need to do is to be able to accommodate you in a 5G, accept and right now, during your COVID-19, it is something that we can definitely look at, Melody. But remember, obviously, 0723161329, ki yona WhatsApp line send the voice notes, the video message, especially about conversation, the myths and facts of yona 5G technology. This is what you had to say.
The amplified capacity provided by 5G would lead to lower data cost. So having fiber optic internet speed would allow most businesses the opportunity to grow.
We had HSDPA, then 3G, and 4G. And every time we had a next one, things improved. Our phones were faster, we downloaded faster, we communicated better. Come 5G, we'll communicate better again. We'll communicate faster, we'll download various forms of entertainment faster. That's just how I feel.
5G will definitely improve our communications. It will definitely allow us to have better information, better communication, and better overall internet access. And I believe that in this 4IR that we're facing, 5G is going to be the thing that brings us faster.
Ngiyabonela ke nani ngempela ukuthi hayi bakhulumile abantu. Mina futhi I'm sure ukuthi khona umuntu ohlele ekhaya ukuthi hayi ngithemba le 5G izoyenza ukuthi umuntu wami angireplyele fast phela. Hayi siyashesha manje hayi lento ukuthi I reply 2 days later.
Melody, in a country where unemployment is very high amongst the youth, in a country where healthcare is really struggling, I think 5G is something that we can all definitely embrace. Sky Chaba Moto South Africa, embrace it. It might just help you also. Thank you very much for tuning in to Daily Thetha every single Monday to Thursday at 10:30 to 11:30 only on SABC 1. We'll see you on the other side on social media.